So thank you everybody for being here. Welcome to this special event for you, for the European Union institution. Please note that this session is being recorded, so and will be shared in the afterwards. And you can revisit and you can share with your colleagues that were not able to join. In the end, we'll also have a Q&A session. So please just send your questions throughout the webinar and we'll address them in the end. And for today, my name is Renata Honaik. Some of you already know me. For some, this is the first time. I'm a Atlassian license specialist, specialized in the European Union here at Valiantis, and deeply committed to ensure that you have the right information and all the information that you need. And today, joining me, we have Guilherme Giacondino. He's a fellow Brazilian, and he's head of cloud at Valiantis, and has a lot of experience with digital transformation and agile. And he brings a strategic perspective to our discussion today. We also have Tanzu Carriaglo, and I have to practice a little bit his name. I just called him Tanzu. Tanzu is our regional lead on cloud practice. It's my fellow colleague here in the Netherlands, and he's Atlassian expert specialized in migrations. And Tanzu will provide valuable insights in navigating this evolving landscape that we are all in. And we also are very pleased to have here Paolo Bellotti. Paolo works at Bachelor and it's service manager, collaborates on the site 3. So for any questions that you might have on the site 3, Paolo will be happy to help us in the end in the Q&A. So that's us. And what do we have as agenda this today? So let's work a little bit on the roadmap. We'll start talking about the end of server. I'm sure we are all aware of the end of server getting closer by, so February. Our first stop will stop at Atlassian Cloud. So we're going to share a lot of information, must-knows about security, about compliance. We are really focused today only European Union, so the information is all for you. And on the second part of the journey, we're talking about data center, and we'll explore that option as well. We'll finish, as I said, with a Q&A session, and you can then engage with the experts, with Guilherme, Tanzu, and with Paolo. So just feel free to send questions or any remarks on the chat. Before we start, I want also to ask you, we'll be interactive with polls as well. So right now we can start our first poll. We have 3. This is the first one, and we're asking you, what do you see? When is your transitioning away from server? So there we have our options. What are your expectations? Do you have any expectations? And just let us know so we can understand who are we talking to today. And I will give you a couple of seconds to answer, and then I'll give the floor to Guilherme.
Perfect. Let's see. Thanks, Renata. So we have 17% already voted. There's a good mix. Seems that by February 2024 is winning, so that's really, really good. Oh yeah, now we have 50% that voted. 52. Yeah, I think we have a really good mix until now, so I think we should be good to close the poll. 72% already, awesome. So yeah, if we look at the results, we can see 55% saying that they are looking to move out of server by February 2024. So that's really good, right? That's you know that demonstrates that most of you are aware about the end of server and that you're already planning. So hopefully we'll also be able to provide a few more insights on everything that's going on with the server sunsetting, the cloud, data center as an option. So that's why we're here today. So to kick things off, I would like to actually go over a quick introduction of Aliantes first. And of course, we are aware that most of you who joined the webinar today might already know us or even maybe already worked with us in the past, but you may not know the extent of our capabilities or even our current scale. So to put it simply, we are the number one Atlassian partner in the world, and we are deeply embedded within the Atlassian ecosystem, maintaining a very, very close relationship with the Atlassian team all the way up to the C-level. And not only that, we're truly a global company and the only actual global partner that is 100% focused on providing Atlassian services. And that laser focus and expertise is exactly what distinguishes us from other partners. And Atlassian themselves recognize that by granting us, numerous awards over the years, including the latest one as the Cloud Solutions Partner of the Year of 2022. And not only that, we actually also have a quite long history of working with European Union institutions, and we've been providing services and licensing agreements through our partnership with Backplay since late 2018, early 2019. And a testament to that partnership is that we've delivered more than 300 engagements over those past 5 years, and I'm pretty sure that there are many, many more to come, right? Um, but as partners, we actually must remind you that the matter of choosing a path out of server is actually becoming quite urgent due to the server end of life that we just mentioned, and that's happening February 2024. So it's right around the corner. So if you agree with the fact that eventually the migration out of server is inevitable, you should definitely start strategizing as soon as possible. And we, of course, are here to help. The good thing is that based on the poll, most of you are already aware and already planning, so that's great to see. But for the other, part of the audience, we know that you might have heard about, the server end of life multiple times through, multiple different sources. But the question here is like, what does it actually mean, right? What are the consequences of sticking on server after the end of life? So to answer that question, I would like to point out three main factors. The very first one is that even though the server licenses are perpetual, you will actually be exposed to vulnerabilities after February 15th, as Atlassian will no longer support the server offering. And that, of course, can lead to downtime and even potential data loss in case there's an attack, such as, some nightmare stories we've heard recently when a vulnerability was exposed a few weeks ago affecting a majority of content server environments worldwide. And the third one and final one is that you may simply just be breaching a compliance requirement of your company just by having an unsupported version of the Atlassian tools running in your environment. So that's of course not ideal, right? And hopefully, after all of that, it is more than clear that moving out of server, it is a top priority, but what are the actual options, right? So the first one is to migrate to Atlassian Cloud, and that's the SaaS versions of the Atlassian tools, and where Atlassian has been investing the most over the past few years. And the second one is data center, for cases where there's a strong need, a compliance factor requiring you to own and manage the infrastructure. That could be a possibility as well. But no matter which path you choose, we're here to help, every step of the way as your trusted partner. And That was just a quick introduction of the two options, but Tansu will go over each one of them in more detail in the following slides. But before we do that, let's just have a quick pulse of your preferences. So please take a moment to share which platform you're currently envisioning migrating to. You can have the options here. First one is cloud, then data center. Next one is data center as an interim step before cloud. And yeah, last one is I don't know, I need more info. Hopefully it can help with that. But yeah, go ahead and drop your choice in the poll, and then I'll pass it along to Tansu. Thank you.
Okay, 74% has already answered, so that's a really good rate. And I see a mixture between data center and cloud options, so it's great. So if we move to the next slide, we are going to talk about the options in depth and starting with the Atlassian cloud. Well, Atlassian has a long history in the cloud. Atlassian created the very first cloud version of Jira in 2011, and since then, it's been constantly improving. When Atlassian surveyed their enterprise customers in 2018 and asked for their feedback around what features would be needed for them to move to Atlassian's cloud, they came back with the top 50 list that Atlassian has used to guide their investments in the cloud. At the time of the survey, cloud covered only 9 out of 50 requests. These were big blockers that Atlassian had to take head on if their customers were going to be successful on the Atlassian cloud. Well, they've been working hard. So if we move to the next slide, we can see how Atlassian met or released the majority of these top requested features, starting with, but not limited to, security features such as encryption at rest, data isolation, and certifications. The rest of the top requested features are underway. Atlassian took these challenges head-on and drastically improved the cloud over the years. You might have heard Atlassian Cloud before, but it is more mature tool than before. So it covers most of the enterprise level requirements now in the cloud. And if you move to the next slide, this is not the end. So Atlassian made it very clear that their priorities are on the cloud. They are working hard to bring the latest technologies to the cloud and cloud only. So while they are working on the top requested features, they also work on adding more features to their cloud products, such as AI. Atlassian Intelligence is in beta in the cloud products and will be available for general availability very soon. They are also working implementing an advanced analytics, especially for the enterprise customers, to see all the data that they have in the different instances in the cloud. And the list just goes on. So all these new features will be available exclusively for the cloud. If we move to the next slide, then it is not only about the new features coming to the cloud. The cloud, as it is now, has already a lot of benefits. I'm going to talk about the 3 main benefits of the Atlassian cloud. The first one, the elevated IT impact, is the most obvious benefit of moving to the cloud. This means getting rid of the need to perform upgrades, security patches, or manage the infrastructure as a whole. So IT teams can focus more on the strategic efforts, and then they reduce their time spent on the low-value tasks. The second one is related to the fact that there are features in the cloud that either don't exist on-prem at all, or they are much more robust in the cloud than their on-prem versions. Sorry. This can allow your teams to be more productive. And I'm not only talking about your IT teams, but also for Jira admins and standard Jira users as well. A few examples. In the cloud, the integration with the other SaaS tools, such as Microsoft Teams or Slack, is much easier. Or integration with the versioning control systems, such as GitHub and GitLab, is much easier and more mature than its on-prem version. And another example is automation for Jira, which also comes bundled in the cloud and much more capable than on-prem version of it. Even so, we can even replace most of the script runner functionality with the built-in automation for Jira features. But at the end of the day, you may see like a few minutes here, a few minutes there gaining when you do the daily task. But when you look at the whole picture, the time saving will be much more meaningful. And finally, built-in security and compliance. Atlassian cloud products are built with security and compliance in mind, providing a secure and reliable platform for teams to collaborate and manage their work. If we move to the next slide, and while we are in the topic of compliance and security, on top of Atlassian architecture, policies, and programs, they also provide compliance certificates. Atlassian built their architecture, security policies, and programs to serve Atlassian customers and protect their data. And they are aware that some industries need to be more compliant more than others. Hence, they provide not only core foundational certificates such as ISO, GDPR, SOC, but also more industry-specific standards such as EBA or BaFin for financial industries or HIPAA for the healthcare industries. And the list continues to grow. So Atlassian is just working on all the regulation and compliance standards to meet your security standards. Moving to the next one, Atlassian also has incentives when you want to migrate to the cloud. For the eligible tiers, you can get the cloud extended cloud migration trial, so you can explore the latest cloud-only features in a sandbox environment or discover all the cloud features in a safe environment. Atlassian will provide server support for up to 12 months while you are committed to migrate to cloud at the 100% discount. And there are more cloud migration incentives if you are committed to the cloud. And in the next slide, well, EU and Atlassian Cloud are closer to each other than you may think of. There are already directorates in EU who already committed to cloud or migrated to cloud already, and they are getting all the benefits of the Atlassian Cloud right now. Now, if we move to the next slides, let's move to the next option. The data center is Atlassian's purpose-built enterprise offering for self-managed environments. It allows you to have your application installed to your own infrastructure. In the next slide, we will see some of the benefits of the Atlassian data center products. Of course, you need to maintain your own infrastructure, but DC has capabilities to help you with the compliance and security aspects, or scalability and performance aspects, and also the user management aspects. For instance, for the compliance and security domain, you can get features such as API rate limiting or advanced auditing to keep your environment more secure and compliant to the requirements that you have. One of the greatest benefits of the data center is the scalability. So you can have the clustering with your Atlassian products without any additional license fee. This will allow you to have the zero downtime upgrades. And last but not least, the data center product has the enterprise level user management features such as SSO capabilities with OpenID or SAML. When we talk about the data center, there are multiple options that we can follow. To start with, we are going to talk about the hybrid footprint. You can use Atlassian Cloud and self-managed products together, either by integrating them to exchange the data and functionalities or making them use the same components of your setup, like user management. You keep the very sensitive data behind the firewall on a DC environment until all of the security expectations are met in the cloud. In the next slide, we will cover the pros of this approach. So this approach will allow you to phase your user migrations. So not everyone will be migrated to the cloud at the same time. So you can have the phased approach and migrate only some of the data and some of the users to the cloud. This will allow you to get familiar with the both options. So you can get the benefits of the cloud, and also you can just use the data center for the needs about the security. And these two products are integrated, so you can still refer to the DC product or cloud product in the other product and get the issues or link the tickets between these two. However, if you look at the cons, this can be a little bit more complex because you will need to maintain two or multiple deployments. So you will have both DC and the cloud that you need to maintain. And even though you can share some of the data together, the configuration will not be shared. And this may lead to a configuration drift between the products. And last but not least, to be able to integrate these products, certain IP addresses will need to be whitelisted, and this may raise some security concerns. The next approach, next option, is the license switch. So if you move to the next slide, the data center products allows you to have the single node installed and run on your infrastructure. So basically, this is the same as what you already have. It is most of the time as easy as applying to a new license. So this option has the fastest implementation time. And this option also allows you to keep your existing infrastructure. So you don't need to change your infrastructure or migrate any of the data that you currently have to the another environment. So it is just there for you. And this option also will allow you to access some of the data center only features, such as single sign-on. But when we look at the cons of this option, you still need to maintain your infrastructure, and you will be missing some of the important DC features, such as the high availability. And talking about the high availability, our next option is migration to data center infrastructure. This infrastructure allows you to have the clustered version of the applications installed on your own infrastructure. So you can have multiple nodes running at the same time, sharing the file system and the database behind the load balancer. This will give you high availability and failover for sure. If one of the nodes in your cluster goes down, the other take on the load and ensuring your users have uninterrupted access. And with this option, you can also get the performance and scale because each node added to your cluster increases the concurrent user capacity and improves the response time as user activity grows. And finally, it will allow you to scale your infra application instantly. So you can add new nodes to your cluster without any downtime or additional license fee. But this option also has its cons. So this will lead to a longer implementation time because you need to think about and design your infrastructure, and usually you need to migrate data from your server instance to your DC infrastructure. And of course, there is the maintenance of the infrastructure aspect. Still, you need to keep the infrastructure up to date and do the security patches. At this point, as we are talking about the data center infrastructure, I want to talk about one more option. And this is again related to migrating to the data center infrastructure. As your trusted partner, we can also host your data center instance and take the burden of maintaining the infrastructure. Valiant as a service will allow you to have all the features of the data center, including the high availability and instant scalability with no infrastructure maintenance. But it also comes with a con. So basically, this will lead to a longer implementation time because your data needs to be migrated to Valiantis as a service, and we need to talk about and design the infrastructure with you. So this will lead to a longer implementation time. Okay, so as we gear up for the Q&A, let's squeeze the one final poll. Now that you've got all the options in your mind, do you anticipate needing an external support for the transition? And while you are responding, or if you respond, then feel free to drop your questions in the chat or in the question section so we can take it and answer it during the Q&A session.
Perfect. Let's see. Renata is here with us just to gear up for the Q&A or help us with the, organization of the questions. Just to comment on the results of the last poll, we see 52% of the respondents saying that they anticipate needing help. So that's great to hear. That's exactly why we're here. So definitely reach out, and we will for sure hear from us via emails, and we can definitely communicate and engage on some further discussions. Yeah, let's see if we have any questions coming in. Do you see anything, Renata?
I see this last one that just came in, and then we'll go back to the beginning. Could we please show again the license switch cons? Maybe we can go back to the.
Let me try to find it. I can do that. So license switch cons here.
Yeah. So, well, one of the cons of being on-prem is overall is the maintenance of the infrastructure. So you still need to maintain your own infrastructure and upgrade and patch not only the applications but also the operating system. And the other one is you will be missing important DC features such as high availability and scalability, because this is just a single node application installation, and you will not get any sort of high availability. So it is same as your server product, but you will get the support because this is the data center license, and you can upgrade as the data center version of the product will be still supported.
So we have another question here. What would be the first step in migrating to cloud? We hear a lot about cloud assessment. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on how it works?
Yeah, I can start with this one, and then maybe Tansu can add some insights as well. So yeah, at least the way that we usually handle this very first phase when it comes to the moving to Atlassian Cloud is by doing an assessment. So what it means is that we'll understand a little bit better how you're currently using your server environment or DC environment, and dive deep in the technical aspects of it as well as in the business aspects to extract as much information as we can in preparation for the migration to cloud. So the idea here is that we'll be building this cloud solution by understanding how you're currently using the tools. So our goal with the assessment is just not to provide just move everything and forget about it, is to actually design a solution that makes sense and that provides proper business value, and you're actually leveraging all the functionalities of cloud. That's kind of like the end goal of why we usually provide the assessment first or the solution design.
Thank you. We have another question. Let me see. So the European Union requires us to be able to perform internal and external audits in the tools from the European Union. It seems that data center would be the best option. How can audits be handled in the Atlassian cloud?
I can take that one. So that's a good question. And what I can say is that the good news is that any audits can also be performed in the cloud to some extent. So the way that it works is that in the cloud we have a feature called audit logs, and each tool in the cloud has their own implementation of it. So for example, if you're using Atlassian Access, that is the unified way of managing users in the cloud, you will be able to pull audit reports of who logged in the instance, as well as, for example, in Jira, you'll be able to access a list of who performed an update to a field, or deleted a project, created a new project, so anything related to that. So we have full control over all of that, and it can be audited. And at the end of the day, the bottom line is that in the cloud, you also have the ability to perform audits, similar to what you would be able to in a self-managed environment.
Thanks, Guilherme. We have also a question about Bitbucket. Is Bitbucket full? Is Bitbucket cloud fully compatible with the GDPR? Because 1 year ago, the data was stored in the US. Do we?
That's a really good question. So we're 100% sure that Confluence and Jira are 100% GDPR compliant. Bitbucket I think we can just park it and confirm, and then share back with the audience afterwards. I'm almost sure it is, but it's worth just double checking, because the GDPR compliance page of Atlassian, it's constantly being updated, and we just need to check the latest before we share the final answer.
Thank you, Guilherme. Also, there is a question about SEMO SSO. So how does it work, the SEMO SSO connection?
Maybe I can answer that. So yeah, well, SEMO SSO, basically when you have the data center license, then the SEMO SSO, or the identity provider integration, is enabled for the on-prem products. And then you can integrate the product with your own IDP. And if we are talking about the cloud, Atlassian Cloud comes with the Atlassian Access that will allow you to integrate your cloud instance with the IDP choice of yours. So how it works is your IDP connects to the Atlassian Access, and then Atlassian Access allows you to do the single sign-on SAML SSO with the Atlassian products. And of course, this will allow you to use integrations and the sync. So there are certain connectors with Atlassian Access. It is quite a wide number of providers supported, such as Azure or Google or Okta, and there are more, of course. And you can also do the just-in-time user provisioning using SAML SSO in the cloud as well.
Thank you. I have another question here. So, well, there's how long in general does a cloud migration? How long does it take a cloud migration? And I do have another question that maybe I can put them together. What are your expectations on the DC innovations compared to cloud? So how long does it take them to migrate to cloud, and what are your expectations between DC innovations and cloud?
Can take that one. So in general, the migration to cloud will heavily depend on the current state of the on-prem solution. So if we're talking server or data center, depending on how complex your current environment is, it will drive the complexity of the migration. And that's exactly why we usually run an assessment first, to actually understand and properly assess the complexity, so that we can provide a proper, accurate timeline for the cloud migration. That's why we do this deep dive early on. But in general, it can take from 2 to 4 months, depending on the case. And of course, it's like a very complex environment, upwards of 6 to 9 months for the whole engagement, from the very first sales description all the way to the production rollout. So it varies a lot, and that's exactly why we usually do the assessment.
Yes.
And when it comes to the innovation piece for data center, the short answer is that there will be most likely none or very little coming in to data center. Atlassian is investing 99.9% of their efforts in innovation when it comes to Atlassian Cloud. So that is, where the new functionalities are coming in, such as what Sansu mentioned. We have AI being released. There's a bunch of new products. They are cloud only. So yeah, definitely innovation-wise, cloud is the option, and data center will most likely just be maintained and most likely only targeting compliance-related needs when it comes to functionalities. So yeah, that's at least how I see it. I don't know if I have any other opinion about it, Tansu, but yeah, my take on it.
Thanks, Guilherme. Thank you very much. So we do have here a comment on one of the EU users. I'm not going to share, the name, but she's saying about the SEMO CSO. They are happily using it since 2020. So just to add on the SEMO. Also, we do have another information here. So thank you very much. You guys are very interactive. So it's not a question, but it seems that Bitbucket is GDPR compliant. So one of you guys already were faster than us. Then we have a question on if the content migration is 100% guaranteed. Is that a question?
Yeah, can you want to start, Tansu?
Yes, of course. So I would say 99% of the Jira data will be migrated. So if there are really legacy functionalities that you have, then that may not be migrated, but we have some workarounds to make it work. But again, like Guilherme said earlier, that it really depends on your use case, how you use your instance, and what things you have installed on your instance. So that really depends on your use case. But if we are talking about the pure Jira data, then I would say like 99% is guaranteed. 100% 100% is a little bit well, yeah, I may say 100%, but yeah, it's
yeah, it applies to Confluence as well, of course. So like I would say that the general way of seeing it is that the data, like the hard data of Jira and Confluence, so like projects or Confluence spaces or users, that's guaranteed. But if we're looking into apps, that's where the complexity lies, and that's why again we do the assessment to identify all of that. There may be functionality differences between server and cloud because the environment is completely different. Like a version of an app in the server is completely different than the cloud one, in the back end, right? The way that it was programmed. So there may be this, mix and match that we need to do during the migration. But yeah, we can say that upwards of 90% of the data will be migrated, including all those differences. So yeah, the migration tools as of today are extremely powerful. I think that's a good way to put it.
Thank you. There is also another question. I'll take that one. Will there be starter license of 10 users for Confluence Data Center, or should we change to developers license? So no, there is no starter license 10 users on Data Center. There is the starter license on cloud, not on Data Center. So yes, you can use the developer licenses. With that, I will go to the because of timing, there's quite some questions now, but I'll see if maybe we can follow up with those questions on a follow-up email. I'll go to the last couple. So another remark, the problem is not the content, it's about functionality, automation. That's also a remark. How many instances can someone have in Jira Cloud? Is it the same as before? That's another question. And then we'll go later for the last one. So how many instances can someone have in Jira Cloud?
I'm not sure what does it mean? Is it the same as before? And as I mentioned in my presentation, Jira Cloud is not the same product as you may heard before. So Atlassian constantly improves and enhance the cloud products. So there is no limit or how many instances you can have in the cloud type of limits. And even though we haven't mentioned that in the slides, there are different tiers in the cloud. There is standard, there is premium, and there's enterprise. And each has more functionality respectively. And if we look at the enterprise level allows you to have multiple instances linked to the same organization, so you can manage all your instances under the same organization, meaning that you will have the same user set, and you can differentiate the instance access in one place and have the granular permissions within each application. So I hope this answers the question, and there is no real limit on this one. So you can have as many instances as you have in the cloud, and especially at the enterprise level tier, you can have all these instances linked to the same organization. And just to add, this is maybe more on the licensing part, but you don't need to pay twice for the users that joins or uses the different instances if you are in the enterprise level. So you just pay one for that user, and that user can log into as many instances you have if you want to.
Thank you. And last one, it's I think will take some time to answer, but what are the pros and cons on migrating to the cloud with past history via a clean instance? I'm not sure if timelines and issues between different migration approaches, please.
Okay, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I got it, and you can complement this answer. So the differences between migrating to cloud, bringing old data over versus a clean, fresh start, for example, right? So if that's the answer, so my take on it is that, of course, is much, much easier to migrate as a fresh start. And we do see a bunch of customers that we've been, working on over the past few months and years, choosing this path of, having a fresh start in the cloud. Of course, it's only applicable when you don't really need to migrate, or you have like a compliancy requirement, for example, that you don't need to keep the history. So, of course, if that's the case, then that will be much faster than migrating old data. You can start fresh. You can start leveraging the cloud functionalities right away. We've seen customers doing that and even actually testing like the cloud as a trial, because you have the ability to just create a trial cloud environment, test it out, and you have some teams use it, and they like it, and then they come up and say, "Oh, cloud is amazing. We really need to migrate," and that's how it all starts. So fresh start, much faster. It tends to be like up to 2 months tops, and if we're looking into running a fresh start, we usually just do a really, really quick assessment just to identify the needs. If there's any specific apps that we would need to install, for example, to fill in functionalities. But that's it. It's much easier and faster. And of course, migrating the data over, it will pretty much be the same as I mentioned before. We'll need to assess, check the complexity. Depending on the complexity, it can take upwards of like 9 months. So yeah, that's the
Thank
two
you.
differences. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Guilherme. We have overrun a couple of minutes already, so I will close now. I will make sure that all the other questions that went unanswered, I'll contact you so we can answer you directly. I really would like to thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks as well, Paolo, Tanzu, Guilherme, for speaking and for sharing your knowledge. Thanks for the audience, for the engagement, for the questions. Before you leave, a couple of reminders. So if you have any other questions, just send me a mail, just contact me or any other of my colleagues. As well, keep an eye on the inbox for the post-webinar recording of the session. Also, we are organizing a webinar Q1, a demo on the Atlassian Cloud. So we'll take, it's a longer webinar where, our experts are going to really show you. So please keep in mind for that, and as well as a security webinar only for the European Union security aspects on the Atlassian Cloud and the app vendors. So to finalize, Valiantis is here as a member, as a help to you, as a partner navigating this landscape of Atlassian. So your success is our priority, and thanks for the interaction, and looking forward to support you in the next steps. And stay tuned. Have a very nice Tuesday, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Valiantis. Lead the way.